I spent the summer riding motorcycles all throughout the mountains of Idaho. After summer ended abruptly, like it does every year, I immediately started thinking about all the riding I could do further south. I had somewhere in mind. The choice was obvious, really. I packed up my van, loaded my KLX onto the back, and started driving. 10 hours later, I pulled into a campsite well after dark, without much sense of where I was or what was around me. It's no secret that Moab, Utah is a special place. With multiple national parks and some of the most incredible trails and scenery in the United States, it's a mecca for off-roaders, mountain bikers, and adventurers of all kinds. I've visited a few times before, but this was the first time with a motorcycle. The idea of riding in Moab sounds amazing, and I think it might be the best way to explore the area. But it's also intimidating. The trails in Moab are known for being rugged and difficult, and I have less than a year of experience riding motorcycles off-road. The plan was to keep it mellow, hopefully anyway. Day 1, I would be riding Onion Creek Road. It looked like a perfect intro to Moab riding. Epic scenery, fairly easy terrain, and camping right off the main road. Judging by the 30-plus Jeeps that showed up by 9 a.m., I chose the right place. Barely a mile in, I was already in awe. This might be the most incredible road I've ever been on. It was so much fun splashing through the shallow creek as the tacky red dirt crisscrossed back and forth. I was having trouble keeping my eyes on the road with all of the sandstone spires towering above me. Wandering eyes plus just enough loose rocks and tight turns made the mellow terrain feel plenty engaging. This was exactly what I was looking for. Halfway up the road, I had to stop and look around. There was so much to take in that I was getting overstimulated trying to both ride and see everything around me. What an incredible place. As the road continued to wind through the canyon, the steep red walls slowly opened up to reveal a vast expanse of color. Scattered cottonwood trees were glowing gold in the sunlight, surrounded by green sage and juniper. Rolling hills in various shades of red, gray, and green stretched for miles in front of me. After 16 miles or so of the most scenic motorcycling I have ever done, I made it back to my van, found camp, and began planning. For my second ride in Moab, I was hoping to complete an 80-mile loop starting from my campsite in Sand Flats Recreation Area. The first half of the loop would follow a section of the Utah BDR, bringing me up Sand Flats Road to the Kokopelli Trail and down through Fisher Valley, then back to Onion Creek Road. After that, I would branch off of the BDR and follow pavement along the Colorado River and back into Moab. When I set off that morning, I wasn't sure if I'd complete the loop or not. I knew Sand Flats Road would be mellow, but I had no idea what was beyond that. I figured there was a good chance I'd run into a section I wasn't comfortable riding and end up turning around, and I was fine with that. Things started to get interesting once I reached the Kokopelli Trail, but unfortunately, my camera wasn't recording since I left camp. Once I got that figured out, I was well into the most difficult terrain I ended up riding in Moab. At this point in the ride, I'd made it through some tough sections and was feeling really good. I was having fun gliding over the smooth, rocky sections with soft, sandy patches in between. I was even worried I made it through all of the difficult stuff without getting any of it on video. Every once in a while, though, things got a little more dicey. Loose rocks, deep sand, rock ledges. It was the rock ledges that finally got me. 3 or 4 small drops in a row, followed by a quick left turn in soft sand, and all of a sudden, I was on the ground.
Figures. Shit. Whoops. Oh, that's mine.
Without too much damage to myself or the bike, I got back on and kept riding. I was a little shaken up. I was far from civilization and had only seen one other person in the last hour or so. Help would be hard to find if I ended up needing it. I knew that it was more complacency than anything else that caused me to crash. The terrain wasn't more difficult than I could handle. I had just gotten a little too comfortable and confident. I would need to be more careful. As I continued on, there were plenty of challenging sections to guide the bike through, and I was enjoying every minute of it. It was challenging, but also rewarding. Every obstacle I made it past was a small accomplishment and a learning experience. Learning how the bike would react to different size rocks and ledges. Learning how subtle inputs to the clutch and brakes could be the difference between maintaining and losing control. Learning what felt like too much and too little speed in every scenario.
Okay. Got it.
On the more mellow sections, I was able to process some of what I was learning and reflect on my crash. I realized I should probably be clutching in over some of the ledges. I think I blipped the throttle a little on that last ledge, which sent me into the corner faster than I was expecting. That, plus me being freaked out by the steep road shoulder made out of sharp rocks, was a recipe for disaster. I had too much speed and quickly jerked the bars out of fear, rather than with any real intention. I'm just glad I didn't sail off of the corner into those sharp rocks. That might have ended my ride. The road mellowed out as I got down toward Fisher Valley, and I was starting to feel relieved that I made it through all of the hard stuff. It wasn't over yet, though. As I would soon find out, the biggest rock ledges of the route were still in front of me. As I rolled past those two guys on bigger adventure bikes, I wondered how they would fare on that section and all the other terrain I had ridden today. Did they know what they were in for?
Wow.
I'm sure it didn't look like much on camera, but those ledges are almost as tall as my front tire, and they're surrounded by patches of deep sand and loose rock. I made it through that section unscathed, but fatigue was definitely setting in. It was time to stop, take off a layer, and have a snack. Finding that around an unassuming corner reminded me that I still had a long way to go before I reached the familiar territory of Onion Creek Road, and until then, there was always a possibility I would need to turn around and go back the way I came. As I continued on, feeling revived, I was getting more and more confident that I wouldn't need to turn around. I was able to look around and enjoy the scenery again. Looking at the map, there seemed to be just one more section of switchbacks before I would be back in familiar territory. I had made it down into Fisher Valley safe and sound. I knew from here I could definitely make it back to my van, and I was excited for all of the amazing riding I still had ahead of me. The roads through Fisher Valley were long, straight, and smooth. Smooth enough that these guys in a little Miata were out there having fun. It was a welcome break from the rugged Kokopelli trail that had started to feel relentless. Finally, there it was, the spot I turned around on my first ride and the beginning of my favorite section of this whole loop. I was stoked to be back on the familiar Onion Creek Road. At this end of the road, you follow a ridgeline high above the creek. Soon I would be descending down into the towering red walls of the canyon. But this section is all about the incredible views all around. The descent down to the creek happens quickly. Just a few steep switchbacks, and then all of a sudden you're splashing through the creek. I think it was the first sign of water I had seen all day. You can smell it too. Smells like onions. The road gets its name from the sulfur smell emanating from stinking spring. Fortunately, the smell fades away quickly in the wind. kept expecting to see the end of the road around the next corner, but it just kept going. This road is endless fun. After several hours of riding, I made it back to civilization. The parking lot was surprisingly full considering how few people I saw out there. The last few miles of dirt may have been the most fun. That section is fast, flowy, and there are so many creek crossings to charge through. It's such an amazing road for motorcycles, and I'm so glad I chose it as my intro to Moab riding. If you're looking for a fun and fairly mellow ride with incredible scenery, ride to the end of Onion Creek Road and back. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. If you're looking for a longer, more challenging, and a bit more epic ride, I highly recommend the 80-mile loop that includes a section of the Kokopelli Trail. You can find a GPX of that route in the description. From here, it's all road miles back to my van. See you next time, and thanks for watching.